Hey everybody, happy October 8th. It's coming in, man. This week is flowing by. It's flying by. We had a couple birthdays in our house too, so we've been busy celebrating that. And I just wanted to come on today and make a quick recovery video. I'm currently actually looking for some side work right now, and I started to go through some of my journaling notebook, and I noticed that I had something circled on there that I didn't speak about last week, and that I really, really, really wanted to talk about this week. And that was being mindful and being non-judgmental, and assigning value to things in our life and in the lives of others, right? So when we come into a situation where we're frustrated, we're angry, those things can boil over, and those things can cause resentments, right? And when we start to hold resentments, a resentment isn't going to hurt anybody but ourselves. So what I've learned in recovery is that these resentments can really tend to grow. It's a seed, really, right? It's a seed in our garden of life, and when we start to plant these seeds, and say the seed isn't going to get germinated and grow without some sort of water, right, or sunlight, and that's what we give it. We give it water and we give it sunlight when we start to entertain some of these resentments, or I'm mad at this person because of this, and they did this, and all this and this and this and this. Well, we need to find in our heart to find a reason to assign actual value or facts to those resentments, because if we can't actually file or give credence to a resentment, then we probably shouldn't have it. And honestly, we shouldn't even be carrying resentments anyways, because we need to learn to forgive and forget. And I know it's not that easy, but when we engage with resentments time over time over time, it's going to continually, perpetually get worse and make our lives miserable. It will, I know. And sometimes it will lead back to a drink or a drug use. So when we learn and we think and we live out life, we can't hold on to things that are going to cause us trouble in the future. So it would make no sense to start planting weeds in our garden, and then the weeds would therefore overcome and start to overgrow some of the crops that we have and some of the flowers and veggies and fruits, right? Because if you think of a garden, we don't want weeds in our garden. We want things to grow, but we don't want weeds, right? Weeds will take over and it'll fully encompass the whole garden. So that's what we want to avoid that. So when we're going through our garden, and we're going through our days, and we're going through our experiences, and we're going through the ups and downs of life, right? We're going to learn that giving credence or giving light or water to these resentments is only going to make it worse. So what we have to do is we literally have to cut it off at the root, pull the roots and get it the heck out of there, or pull the root and cut it, whatever you want to do, however that looks like to you. I'm just kind of using the garden analogy because I find so much value and fun in gardening. And I get super excited about these topics because I'm working through these things in my own life. I have been in recovery for the better half of 15 years now. I've been clean and sober from drugs like meth and heroin and prescription pills since August 10th of 2011. So I'm almost coming up on 15 years. And I commemorate the time more than I brag about it, because I remember what it was like to be in active use and addiction. So now that I've been out of it for so long in that department, I really do value the time that I have away from it, because that's a buffer. That's a time that we get to hang our hat on and be like, you know what? I haven't had to do it for this long, so there's no reason why I should even just pick it up today for one day. So we accumulate that time as a way of not bragging and not a way of boasting our own self, but as commemorating and looking at that time as an actual value. There is a infinite value in the 14 years that I have stayed away from drugs and alcohol, or drugs, and the 6.5 years that I've been away from alcohol. That is all accumulating to me having some success in that department where I hadn't had before. So that is important, right? So valuing and acknowledging the time that we've worked and spent in recovery, because I know a lot of people out there say, well, you know what, you shouldn't be counting your days, you shouldn't have a coin in your pocket, you shouldn't have a 10-year coin, you shouldn't go in and ask for coins, you shouldn't ask for, you shouldn't ask for, because you have a bunch of time doesn't mean that you need to be put on a pedestal, but really that time itself kind of removes you from some of the other peripheral people that maybe are thinking like that, because those are the people that might not value that as much, and that might be a hiccup for them in the road to come. I don't judge people too much on what they say. I judge people on their actions, right? And in the content of their character, right? Like what they're doing in their own life is going to speak volumes to what they're saying. So when we look at things, we always know that we can reflect, learn, and then execute and do better, right? So when we come up with a plan, we formulate a plan. It's a good plan. It's a fine plan. It's an awesome plan. We got the steps involved. We have a formula. We have principles. We have morals and ethics and feelings and emotions. And we have all that combined into our plan to stay sober and free and clear and abstinent from the things, people, places, and things like drugs and alcohol that made our lives what? But unmanageable, insane, risky. It made it so hard to live that now that we are away from all that behavior in those times of active use and active addiction, we really, really value the time that we're away from that. And sharing it with others is so helpful. So when we come in, some behaviors in our recovery are going to be justified and some aren't, right? Some behaviors, especially harmful or problematic, aren't necessarily justifiable. They're something that we've come up with in our own, vision of whatever we think something should be, right? Or our perception or our opinions, our views, our beliefs. But really, a judgment upon ourself or other isn't really needed, but sometimes the fruit of that is teaching us to not be judgmental. And that doesn't mean that everything is pleasant and that there are no problems. It just means that you don't have to put a label on yourself or others as being, necessarily good or bad. We can go through life practicing mindfulness and allowing to stay present and seeing things for what they really are and not adding value or perception or opinions or views or beliefs to something because that might not be the facts, right? So you're not going to fail. You're never going to be a failure. A failure means that failure means that you didn't do something right and that you failed, right? Well, how can you not do something right in recovery if you're trying, right? So as long as you're trying, failure should never be a word that comes out of your mouth. And allowing things, think of it as like a railroad track, right? Or like a river or a conveyor belt, where we have all these feelings and emotions that pop up, right? And then some are good, some are bad. So we put some on the keep pile conveyor and we put some on the discard conveyor, right? And those ones, the feelings and emotions that are no good, we're going to discard and send off into the field, and those get recycled. Well, our feelings that we want, the feelings of valid feelings and feelings that have a purpose in our life, we're going to want to keep those, right? We're going to want to keep those. And so we put those on the conveyor that's going to help us and recycle those into our life because we want those feelings and those things, right? So yeah. So don't isolate, don't disassociate. Spend your time with people, places, and things that are going to be positive for you. And sometimes we really have to work at it. Sometimes we really have to take a gander at our circle and our peripheral, right? And I'm just so excited to be here with you guys and to share these messages with you because you know what? This is a passion. It comes forward without even me really having to think a lot about these things. I really just want to tell you guys how I feel inside. And this is how I feel. I feel like resentments and being judgmental to even ourselves is so detrimental to our long-term recovery goals of being abstinent from the people, places, and things like drugs and alcohol that got us, what? Entangled in a life that become unmanageable or insane, and we don't want that. So the longer we work on these topics and the longer we work on these steps and these formulas and these principles and these words and all these attributes and skills and things like that, the more we're going to learn about them. So hey, if you guys like these messages, please hit like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. But send these messages off into the world, into the ether, and let other people see that there are other people out here willing to step out of their comfort zone and to talk about things that might not be on the not a lot of people talking about these things. And so I hope that these messages bring you joy, and I hope that they bring you a lot of information, and the experiences that we share on these channels are our own, right? They're nobody else's but our own. So if you want to share something with me that you think will be impactful, please do so. I hope you guys all have a great Wednesday. Today is going to be an awesome day. And don't forget that everything has a rhyme or a reason, right? Everything has a purpose in our life. So if you see something, say something. And if something's not sitting right with you, open it up, dissect it, work on it, reflect, learn, do better. Love you guys. God bless.